In the video running and activating macros, I felt that we could cover a little bit more in depth on scopes and how they're used. Let's go ahead and go back into the Macro Express Explorer. This could take a moment depending on your computer speed. Now that we've got to our Macro Explorer, let's go ahead and double click on the test macro that we developed in the other video. You may or may not have this. You can just open any macro or just create a new one if you want an example. Anyway, if we go into the scope option, we have quite a few different choices here. Our first option, which is default, is global, and this refers to the macro running on any application that's opened. So whenever we press our hotkey or whenever the schedule goes off, it will activate the macro no matter what. The global accept option refers to all the programs that are running except for specific ones that we select. So if we want it to run in Microsoft Notepad and Microsoft WordPad, but we didn't want it to run in Internet Explorer, we can use the global accept option to do that. Let's go ahead and select global accept and press select. If the application in the right hand side, in this example, i.e. Explorer.exe, which is short for Internet Explorer, this means that this macro will not start if Internet Explorer is on top. Let's go ahead and do an example of this. If we press OK and click Save to save the changes, and press Control-Alt-3, which is what I set the macro key to be, and if you're unsure on that, just click on Properties and locate what is your set hotkey and what key it is. Anyway, let's go back into the scope and try it one more time. If you notice the macro ran, you see a little guy running here and also my dialog that I had entered in. If we go into Internet Explorer now and we try to launch the same macro by pressing Control-Alt-3, you'll notice that there's no little guy running and there's no dialog window. And that's because the program that we had specified in the exception list is now running, and it is indeed visible to us as end users. So that makes a macro so that it doesn't run. The Windows specific option is quite the opposite. If we hit select, we can select different applications to for the macro to run in. So if we specify, again, Internet Explorer.exe, which is already in this list, and if we want to add, say, Program Manager, we would simply left-click on it, click Add, and now that as well shows up in our list of selected windows. So now if we press OK and we hit Save, and then test the macro in Macro Express, it's not going to run. Okay, so let's open Internet Explorer. Now this should run, correct? Well, not necessarily. If we go back into Macro Express and we look at the actual option that's Windows specific, that means that it's not counting if the program's running. It means that if the window title is equivalent to one that we've listed, then it will run. So now if you notice in my window titles that are available, and it says Welcome to Learn Macro Express, because Internet Explorer has opened a browser up to that, we now have that option to specify that in our selected windows. Now let's say that we want to just check the window title for Welcome to. We don't want to look for the rest of this. Well, we can delete specific parts of it so that we now only have Welcome to. Then when we hit Add, we just make sure that that is not the exact match, because if the exact match is on, that means that it's going to match that window title exactly. If it's not exact, then the macro will not run. Now if we hit OK, hit Save again, go back into Welcome to, and press Control-Alt-3 once more, you'll notice that the macro now runs. Let's go ahead and click OK and close this window out. Now if you kept in mind, the Windows specific is just for specified window titles. So if we specify Macro Express, then it will run anything that has Macro Express in the window title. Whereas the program specific now allows us to select a certain program and not just a window title. Now, it's going to transfer all the previous settings from the other options that we had selected. That's why Welcome To is now here as well. Let's go ahead and remove this and remove the Program Manager. If you notice, we still have Internet Explorer in there, and we have the option of running only if the program is on top, or the window that's visible. What I mean by visible is Internet Explorer in plain sight, or is it hidden, is it down on our taskbar or in the background, and Macro Express is on top, or some other program. So if that box is checked, then it will only run if Internet Explorer in this example is on top. Now once again, if you want to move programs over to the right-hand column, you simply click on whichever program you want and click Add. Let's go ahead and press OK. I didn't click Add, so Macro Express won't be in that list. If I try to run the macro, you'll notice that it doesn't run. I'm pressing Ctrl-Alt-3 right now on my keyboard, and it's not running. If I go into Welcome to Learn Macro Express and then press Ctrl-Alt-3, you notice that it now runs because Internet Explorer is on top. Let's do an example of if we turn this Run If On Top button off and press OK, and once again we need to save the macro. Press Ctrl-Alt-3 again, and you'll notice that now it runs no matter what. Okay, so what if we close Internet Explorer down? Well, now it doesn't run. I'm pressing Ctrl-Alt-3. And the reason is because it cannot find any active versions of iExplorer or .exe active. If you need any more information on scopes, please view the book. This concludes our tutorial for scopes in Macro Express.